Who was Nore before you ever wrote a rap?
Well,
Before you even thought about rapping, making songs, who was you then?
before I started rapping and making songs, I was just Poppy. That was my name in the hood. Because my father was the only Spanish guy in the hood. He had a tail with earrings and 500 tattoos. And so, you know, they naturally called him Poppy.
He was light skinned, lighter.
No, he was white. He was white, but he was Puerto Rican. But he's Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? And he was had green eyes and shit like that.
Wow.
He was a boxer, and so everybody thought I was gonna be a boxer. I don't know how I started shooting people. Like I definitely was supposed to have. I don't know why I wanted to be different from him or something. I don't know. I was just like, all right, cool, different. And
my pops
so
boxed.
yeah, so like to this day he's a legend. Like if you go to my hood, he has a memorial of him, but that memorial existed when he was alive. Like I'm working hard, they still ain't put a memorial up to me. Like I'm like, damn, nigga, I went platinum. I got all this shit, which y'all ain't gonna see me, But that's what I'm trying to say is he's a real legend. Like he was the only Puerto Rican or the first Puerto Rican on the block. In the PJs at that time it was all black people. My father was my first hero. I remember my father, because my mom's was a taller woman, and she was thick, back then, black women thick, and I guess my father was into that, and he, this is a story. One of my favorite stories of my father is these guys try to talk to my moms, and I'm with my pops, and my pops is like, yo guys, she's with me, and they like because he's a short guy, he's a very short guy, but he was just nice with his hands, so they said, little man, such and such. So my pops went and bought 3 cones. And they was like, what you doing, little man? He's like, yo, here, man, it's a peace gesture. And as one got the cone, he beat all 3 of them. Bang, bang, bang. And as they licked it, bang, bang, bang. And I was like, yo, my father's my hero. I saw him fight 3 guys. So his was crazy. It was 3 people. So his was crazy. Here's what the wildest part of the story is. As they're sitting down, their noses blood, like, yo, chill. I remember it was a guy who rolled by on a bike and said, yo, Mambo, stop being a bully. They told my father that he was being, he fought 3 different people, and they said he was being, and I was like, damn, I want to be like my pops. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I wanted to be like my pops, but I still wasn't.
Did you ever try to box?
I think I did, and I think I just didn't like the hitting bag, the punching bag, and I don't know. I just never pursued it.
So he never pressured you to like, you gotta.
Yeah, he did. He did a little bit. He definitely, like, me, my sister, and my other little brother, we all know how to box. We just didn't go as far as being professional and things like that. Right. So he refused. Like, my sister one day, a girl beats up my sister, light-skinned girl. Her name was Amy. She was a terror. And my sister came home. My father said, well, who's you more scared of, me or her? And we went back downstairs, and he made my sister whip her ass.
Yeah,
and
remind me of my pops. He's just like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, fuck it. Like, win, lose, or draw, no one's going to be a sucker here. You know what I mean? And so that's, you asked me who I was.
Yeah, who Poppy is.
So it was kind of like, it was not, I don't want to say pressure, because back then it was segregated. Like, the projects, the hood was segregated. Section 2 and Section 1 stuck together. Section 3 was like the robbing section, so no one really fucked with them. And then Section 4 and Section 5 was like the weed section. So I was really like a person that just stood. I was like, that person that was only on his block, and then, every now and then. So that's who I was, basically. I only knew my block, and I knew the politics of my block. I really didn't know what's across the street. It happened as I grew and as I started to listen to music.
Right.
As I started to listen to music, I was like, oh shit, there's a hood like Lost Boys. Like, really? I never even knew Renee was not from Left Rack.
Wow.
The Renee, you mean Lost Boys got a Renee out there too?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It was really music that was, like I said, man, like, that's why, like.
Rest in peace, Freaky.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. That's why, like, when you look at these local kids that don't lead a hood, like, don't fail on them. Don't look down on them. Like, they just didn't have the opportunity. That's why I feel like I am. Like, I'm one of them local kids that still, like, quarter water, like, flavor and shit like that. But, I got the opportunity to go somewhere, and I took it. You know what I mean? Like, and I was first that kid that, went to the beach with Timberlands on. Like, that was me. Like, that it's Biscuit, and like.
So before the music, then you was getting into beef and all of that stuff too, or just growing up in Queensbridge, or was it more like you was just a
Left Rack.
But
they gonna roast you in the comments.
Not me.
They gonna roast you in the comments.
But it wasn't like that. It was I was just a hustler that was around hustlers. Like I couldn't. It wasn't like something I did. Like, and the thing is, that's the thing. Where I always tell people, like in this podcast game, or I lived on 18 floors. It was 18 floors. It was like 14 apartments on each floor. So when I sold crack, before I even left the floor, I had to compete with, Javon that was down the block. I had to compete with a dude named Tory that was right next to me.
Everybody's selling crack.
Everyone was selling crack. So I figured, that's what I knew. I said, you know what? These other people, they might have more product than me. They might have better clientele than me, but nobody's going to stay outside as long as me. Not one of these motherfuckers.
And how old are you?
At this time, I'm talking about, this is 11 to 14.
11 to 14, you're selling crack.
Yes, yeah. I never
and you're outside.
And I never had good product neither. Never had good product neither.
But you always sold it.
I always sold it. That was
you
my
cooking
model.
it? Was you cooking?
I fucked it up. I cooked it when I fucked it up. I brought it to motherfuckers who were cooking for me. Yeah, I mean, it was a different time in those times. Like,
yeah, it was different.
It was different. Like,
my first time I made jelly.
For real, it was just yellow.
How the hell at 11 though you get crack?
My first crack, I hang out.
Like,
well, my nephew hangs out with.
Popular.
My nephew hangs out with Ming. Well, Ming's father. The first time I sold crack I was 11 years old. Ming's father threw me a tennis ball. He told me, "Yo, go give it to Ronnie." See, and the police came, searched Ming. I had the tennis ball. I went and gave it to Ronnie. Ronnie gave me like $500 or. It was something with a 5. I don't remember.
Crazy.
And I gave it back. And I gave it back to Ming, and Ming gave me like $50. And at the time, I think I went and played Street Fighter and Super Sprint. You remember Super Sprint?
Oh,
Super Sprint. I
shit.
went and played Super Sprint, and I was like, wow, this was kind of cool. I want to keep moving the tennis balls. I had no idea until one time he did me the tennis ball, and I tried to bounce it, and the shit ain't bounce. I went and I looked, and I said, oh my god! But I still didn't know what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But at the time. That's what it was. Like little dudes was lookouts. Little dudes was the pitchers. Like until I started to realize, like, oh, okay, like this guy's making $500 or whatever he's making every time and he's giving me 50. You know what I'm saying? So I started to lie and say I was 16. So I started to hang out with the 16-year-olds that was already doing that. You know what I'm saying? I started to hang out with Rob, Freddie, and Joseph, and Troy Outlaw, and Kiba Bones, and Down Leezy. And these dudes was all 4 years older than me, but they had it going. And what happened was the hood went into a war, and they kind of like my whole crew was gone. So it was only 2 people. So
like
when
murdered?
Like it was a dude named Star Kim, God bless the dead. He came, he went up the block, and he was like, no one's pumping out here.
Wow.
So I was too young for him to actually go at me. So I stayed on some like. I'm the young nigga shit, but when he turned around, I kept pumping, and it was like, it was just something I had, and then he grew a liking to me, and it was just like he let me stay.
When did guns become like a thing for you?
Well, my father showed me a gun. I say it on sometimes. I said, my pops was the one that showed me the gun. He said, Poppy, you got to protect your moms, even if that means that you got to strap up arms. Again, I lived in a different time. Like my father, when there were shootings outside. And my father would just show me like, yo, look, under these boxing gloves, this is this thing, this is this. I don't want you to ever do it. Don't ever use it for, whatever. You use it to protect your moms, use it to protect your sister, use it. And I was just like, all right, cool. So he taught me like man shit early on. Because it was the time we was living in. Like it was New York City was not.
It was not
a good place. Yeah, it was not a good place at that time. I love where New York is at
the crack
right now.
house era, where it was like. Where it really looked like New Jack City. Yeah. It was different. I lived on Quincy Street. There was a building across the street, abandoned, people going in and out all night. You figure it out after a while. There used to be crack vials all over the street. Mm-hmm. I used to collect the colors. Mm-hmm. I like the colors.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf you heard. Told Jim I need a bomb I could drop on you niggas. Bad boy, I'm never gonna stop for you niggas. I don't give a fuck who you got is the illest. I solidify my spot with gorillas. Now I'm rock with you niggas.